Let's talk graphing sine and cosine. So the rules are pretty much the same for sine and cosine. You first want to take some notes on what you're doing. So one of the first things we do is we find our amplitude. Remember, our amplitude is found by that number in front of sine. And so our amplitude is 2. Notice it's a positive 2, so sine will still be going up as normal. All right, then we have our period. Remember, the period is typically 2 pi, so we're going to take 2 pi and we're going to divide it by b, which is that number in front of the bubble. If there's not a number in front of the bubble, you have to factor it out so you can get a number in front of the bubble. And so it's 2 pi divided by 3. Our phase shift is going to be found by looking inside the bubble, and that says a plus pi over 2, so our phase shift is actually going to be pi over 2 to the left. It always goes the opposite direction. And then we have our vertical shift. That is going to be the number at the very end. So our vertical shift is 4 down, and that actually does go with the sine. So now that we have that, we can actually start graphing. My phase shift is going to be pi over 2 to the left, and my vertical shift is going to be 4 down. So I want to make sure I leave myself enough room. So if my vertical shift is 4 down, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to put my dotted line just so that I can see my axis that I'll be going off of. My amplitude is 2, so I'll be going up to -2, and I'll be going down to -6. All right, labeling those helps you kind of remember where you're going from there. All right, my phase shift is pi over 2 to the left. So I'm going to start at -pi over 2. Now, that's going to be my very first point that I graph. Remember, sine starts at the axis, so I can put a point right there. But now to find my next point, I have to add the period onto the phase shift. So if I'm starting at -pi over 2, I need to add 2 pi over 3 in order to get to my next point. Remember, you're adding the period. No, you're not adding the period. Sorry. Back up a second. I'm not adding a whole period. I need to add only a fourth of that, right? Because my next 4 spots. So what I need to do is I actually still need to find my width of my quarters. I should have done that up here, sorry. So my width of my quarters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my period and I'm going to divide it by 4. But that's a big mess. Look at that. It's a fraction and a fraction. I'm not going to divide by 4. Remember, our simple way of doing that is take it times 1/4. That means 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. So I'm really going to be adding on top pi, on bottom 6. So that's what I'm adding on each and every time is pi over 6. So I'm going to add on pi over 6 each and every time. So I'm at -pi over 2. I need to add pi over 6. I need a common denominator. -pi over 2, if I multiply by 3 on top and bottom, that gives me -3 pi over 6. And I add on pi over 6. And that gives me -2 pi over 6. So let's put that right there. That would be -pi over 3. Okay, now I'm at -pi over 3. I need to add on another width of the quarters. Remember, I'm adding on my width of my quarters. So I'm going to add on to that 2 pi over 6, I'm going to add on another pi over 6. That gets me to -pi over 6. So that'll be my next spot. I'm labeling each one. And then to get my next one, I need to add on another pi over 6. So I'm already at -pi over 6. I need to add on a pi over 6. And that gets me to 0. So far I have, let's count it out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, I need 5 for my 5 critical points. So I'm at 0. I need to add on pi over 6. That gets me a simple pi over 6. So this is going to be a scrunched together one, my goodness. Alright, so here I go. I'm going to graph sine. Let's graph it in blue. So we graph our first point. Remember, it starts at the axis, then it goes up to the maximum, and then it goes back down to the axis, down to the minimum, back to the axis. And that would be one full cycle of sine. Now if I asked you to graph another cycle, what you need to do is keep on adding pi over 6. Okay? Figure out all those points, add on pi over 6. So as I do that, I get pi over 3, and then add on another pi over 6, I get pi over 2. And then add another one, you get 2 pi over 3, and then add on another one, you get 5 pi over 6. So you can do the math on that if you can't do that in your head. Just keep on adding pi over 6, and there's 2 full cycles of sine. Now cosine is going to be the same way, except cosine, instead of starting at the axis, cosine starts at the maximum, then the axis, and down. And so it's just shifted over a little bit, but it's the same thing. You're still doing the same math for here. You're still doing the same stuff over here. Find your amplitude. That's going to be that number in front. Find the period. That's taking 2 pi divided by the number in front there. Okay, then let's skip down to width of the quarters. Now you're going to take your period and you're going to divide that by 4, or multiply by 1/4 to figure out how much you add on every single time. Find your phase shift. Remember, that's the number inside of here, but you're going to go in the opposite direction of what that says. And then vertical shift you find at the very end, and since it's a subtract, we go down. That actually does go with that sign.